Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Feeling Thursday Battle Lounge with the 2MK team. It is time for some King of Fighters, and it looks like the Wolf has settled into a main team, at least for now, which suits well with the timing of Army Rabbit shifting to more so going all out. This probably still won't be that much of a gap, as the amount of practice that any given game gets from busy people. Well, if you're a casual enough player of fighting games in terms of your time available, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. This is more or less an Atlantic Rim lounge. If you are close enough to the coast of the Atlantic Ocean that you could probably get there in an hour, no matter where you are, you can feel free to give that a shot. South America may have some issues, but that tends to be more so internet connection than specifically distance in itself. So if your internet is good and you are also in the Midwestern United States or certain parts of Europe, you can still give it a try. The game's rollback is usually good enough that the experience won't be terrible. And you'll generally find that we don't have a lot of execution testy pressure or mix-ups of that type. So it might be worth your time as long as neutral works well enough and isn't too stuttery. We've also had some time to poke at and test our Iori bot for getting used to hops and specific punishes, strengthening the punish game as a generality, both in terms of the use of meter and the avoidance of using meter. That said, the little bit of practice that did happen is more so going to be a gateway to better punishes as a generality, but not necessarily enough by now to have set us up to not do the old ones. So you'll still see some suboptimal strikes going on. Today the lounge is set to have rematches available, but be aware that most people probably aren't going to actually accept their rematches, particularly if there wasn't anything greatly meaningful for them to figure out or gain from doing so. So keep your eyes on things when you don't hear or don't see a fight on screen, because there's a decent chance he'll rotate around and you might end up playing your match sooner than you'd expect. I'm not necessarily going to be particularly quiet today, but I'm not exactly sure what I intend to talk about. There are lots of little things that are probably emergent from the training that has been done, and that almost always means that whatever I talk about is equally emergent. And as a result of that, therefore, we may in fact see a rematch. There's the offer. And it is turned down. As for my own side, I'm pretty certain I'm not going to play Iori as often in future, but I'm definitely continuing today. Minor changes to characters often cause me to have specific things I can and can't do. But it could just be that I'm mistiming the invincibility frames on some things, and that's changing whether or not my standard style with Iori is working. Mary, on the other hand, because she still technically has all of the moves that I expected her to have, except one, and you can just do what you always did and make that one available through actual countering. The main capacity the opponent gained from her, let's call them nerfs, and I'm talking like from 98 Mary. Fans of Ultimate Match may have some idea what I'm talking about. Long range attacks where she cannot reach for the real counter grab are now more dangerous, but that just means I have more reason to hit kick. The connection instability between people in lounges is still being somewhat addressed, but they seem to have got it at least to the point where the match doesn't drop. It can just be quite heavily delayed, as you just saw. Keep on doing the wrong one. Unfortunately, the Iori bot isn't a lot of help in fighting me because its purpose is to push on you and rush you down, whereas my style is completely the opposite. He's not a terribly good whiff punish character. It takes a lot more commitment and puts you in a lot more danger, but I will still try it for the most part. With the main problem being that he is somewhat linear and leaves, again, large gaps where punishing is more possible. But this is a good feature for the bot side. Accuracy is the name of the game, but it becomes much harder against characters who simply move too much at a time. Therefore, it is generally better to wait for those players to make mistakes. But, as we've discussed before, there comes a point at which I get to stop moving. And Geese is precisely that character. Geese is a good fit for this spot because if I realize I lost the previous match because I moved too much, it's easy enough to win with Geese by not doing much of anything. Range? No. But again, I'm not going to change my perception here because it's Geese. I don't need to move. Antonov has a lot better options in the same space, especially with that amount of meter. But the opponents mindset still can't be changed too much from where it was, because it's geese. Oh, I forgot that was a command run. Wait, no, that still went wrong because... Shermie is better suited for this, but now that I'm in that mindset of I don't have to move, Iori does okay. I just need to move enough to make my opponent think that they can't just come at me. At which point, the situation doesn't change too much. For example, there, I should have stopped attacking or gone for an uppercut, knowing that my opponent was in that position. But after a while, it's possible to just get used to people blocking, and that's when they get you.
Are you ready?
Round one. Ready? Go! Round two. Ready? Go!
Don't need to block if people aren't going to hit you. The key to that situation would have been to hold perfectly still, because she can stop nearly anything he does. But I've just moved to another character who can do that anyway.
Ready? Go!
I think this is the way to drop back if I want to drop back. Yes, it is.
Select members. Select order. Select stage. It's about to be a party up in here! Round one. Ready? Go! Player one wins!
We have been having trouble maintaining the connection to the wolf though. Still, we've already had one successful one, so hopefully it gets through fine. It might just take really long.
Stand your ground. Ready? Go!
The report I've got is that this is a little laggy, but
Round three. Ready? Go!
King of Fighters has been out of our repertoire as a game for so long that unfortunately it was entirely a matter of Rune Siren not remembering certain moves Angel has. And Angel has a lot of moves, meaning that if you've dropped or lost one of them, the situation is pretty complicated. But yeah, it does look fairly laggy. The specific way that this game stutters makes it pretty bad too, so I'm not expecting a rematch here. Unfortunately, this puts most of the meter available on Chizuru, which isn't great most of the time. Not enough time yet practiced on countering things, but she did also have some time with the Yoribot the other day, so maybe there are more combos now. I know she definitely had time to get more moves looked into, but working out how exactly best to use your meter against one character does not tell you how to use your meter best against other characters. And while Kukri and Iori have similar normal styles, I feel like the pushback is different. While one is often better off fishing for the auto combo punish, especially in unfamiliar situations, it does depend on character as well. So yeah, I'm not sure where the stutter is, but I'm not expecting a rematch here. And that other player left, so it looks like I'm in once again. I feel like Mary has a weaker matchup against Joe because she has to spend a lot more time playing somewhat defensively. But you don't absolutely have to do this. You can be like really daring and try to read and flow through all of Joe's attacks. She's good enough at with punishing, even considering his style of normals, that if you're in the right position and use this move fairly often, you'll get some options. But it is important that you use it, because it is her method for moving forward while holding charge long enough to actually get something out of it. But this specific type of stutter does end up being a little difficult, particularly because the style required would be to do that, would be to read everything at the moment it happens and use her massive amounts of invincibility to solve your problem. Geese isn't invincible as much, but has the problem from a different side. However, I am still a master of the backstep light Reppuken. Always remember, people, Replicant is a normal. You should generally think of most fireballs this way, but Replicant in particular is a normal. Just happens to cross the whole screen. Slowly. Now here is a matchup where you have to do a lot more work. When you see Geese coming at you with that punch, as long as he does anything, as long as he leaves that stance at all, mash a button. It's the extended palm, and if the extended palm is followed by any movement whatsoever, hit a button. You know that I don't actually know how to do this move outside of the auto combo.
Select members. Select order. Select stage. Nothing will stop this show. Round one. Ready? Go! 喧嘩が強い上に男前。先にボス。Now or never. Ready? Go! あがいてみるか。おとなしく入れてろ。もろい。
お相手するわ。
Round 3. Ready? Go!
ダブルストライク。これで終わりよ。
よっ
さあや甘い。プレイドのストライク。
楽しみましょう。レディー Round 4 Ready? Go! ベルトの輝きが俺の勝利を祝福しているかのようだ。さあ行くぜ。 Round 1 Ready? Go! Back! Ready? Go! Lightning Kick! No! Lightning Kick! Lady, reach for the top. Ready? Go! Lightning Kick! Lightning Kick! Lightning Kick! Final round. Ready? Go! Winner!
あんたならいつでも相手になるよ。じゃあね。
しゃあ行くぜ Round 1 Ready? Go!
Alright, this seems like I can in fact talk about this one because it's apparently actually stable. Yashiro's ability to whiff punish a bunch of things Joe doesn't really apply because Joe doesn't have to do anything. But when he does do something, it's Yashiro's job to be on guard for it, which is, in itself, a massive form of stress for some players. To constantly be waiting in case your opponent hit a button often means that you aren't using your own offense. In fact, the opponent is often counting on the fact that you can't mount a proper offense and be ready for them to hit random neutral buttons at the same time. And this allows for a lot of evolution in matchups because it means that the player in that position can hit neutral buttons that are entirely intended to stop your offense, and simply not do so when you've moved to a position where that would be the wrong thing to do. The most powerful rushdown style characters, therefore, are those whose moves appear similar and can be used from similar ranges. The effectiveness drops rapidly when the character does not have the ability to do this. Even if their moves are unsafe, it's still better than certain moves only being good from certain spaces. This piece of data alone can help you tell whether or not a character is meant to be played very offensively or not. Benimaru, for example, has a lot of trouble simply because his moves don't always reach very far, and the ones that do are at least somewhat telegraphed. You could block almost all of them on reaction, which is probably why they're allowed to be so relatively strong if you do block them. But there are other ways around the moves as well. The hitboxes are not that good in King of Fighters as a generality. One thing he does have available, as just demonstrated though, is that he can use his air Thunder Punch to sort of fast fall. And in certain matchups this is a big deal because the opponent cannot jump at him to anti-air, or rather to air, and basically can't stop him from taking up the space on the screen he wants to take up. He doesn't even extend things, and it's almost useful for consistently going over lows, simply because he doesn't spend enough time on the ground and he floats there long enough that you don't get anything out of it. You can literally use this as an advancing tool. Certain characters will do terrible things to you for it, but as a generality, if you're good enough at executing this move, particularly if you trick your opponent into thinking you're going to do it and then don't, they've changed their entire method of dealing with you in mid-range. They're looking out for a move you're not going to do. Even characters with uppercuts can have a lot of trouble with this simply because he kinda just stops in midair, and unless your uppercut is going to move you forward rapidly, that usually means that you just whiff and then he's landed before you have, which in Benimaru's case means you're going to take a very large combo now.
Select members. Select order. Select stage.
This is where the small, minor interactions and minor aspects of a character's buttons make big differences. Chris, for example, can punish Benimaru for doing this simply because of the way his uppercut works. It is a flipping kick, and he generally trades or gets a benefit outright. And Angel has like a double swinging up hand, but because it starts so low and doesn't advance her hurt box at the beginning, it's harder to deal with. So basically either way here, unless Yashiro deals with both of those characters, Benimaru won't be able to use the tool as effectively. But we're back to then talking about the idea that if you did the move, but without the ever having the intention to hit, your opponent is getting ready to counter something that isn't going to happen. I'm reasonably sure this match is still going on, but as it has frozen on this side, chances are that you're not going to get to see the rest of it. And unfortunately, that also probably means that the stream for the day has ended its main content part. The lounge itself may stay open for quite a while more, so if you would like to join in it, feel free to do so now. Tomorrow we'll be having more King of Fighters content. Specifically, we should have an Iori bot Discs guidance stream ready for you. We worked hard at making this bot basically as easy to input as we could possibly get while still maintaining a lot of versatility, giving you the maximum number of things to learn how to punish and deal with if it's input perfectly, and still most of the functionality required if you can't manage a perfect input. The inputs are also easy enough that you won't necessarily mind inputting them at the beginning of every play session and trying more than once. An error has occurred. Let's see whether or not this is technically still happening, but I'm at main menu now, so regardless of anything else from this side, you can find all of our bots at 2-mk.org, and information on whether or not we're streaming, which is almost always at 7:30 Eastern Time or Central European Time for our EU streams. On our Twitter 2_MK_FGC. I'm going to see if I can jump back in, regardless of the weird connections we've been having, and if you're interested, I will see you there. This has been Rillian for Team 2MK. Good luck with your training and good night, everyone.